the precious iPhone, when it came about, that's when all the problems became, because it's in our hand. I mean, this is a miniature computer.
Too many people turn over all of their parenting duties to the screen and are not monitoring the screen.
Right.
And are letting nothing but garbage go into the minds of their kids.
Oh, I agree with that.
Which is exactly what the CCP, Chinese Communist Party, is doing with TikTok. Because in China, the TikToks they get are all educational, really high value stuff. And here it is the nonsense and brain garbage.
Well, I will be honest with you, when my daughter is on her iPad and she's on it for a while, she is a terror when I rip it away from her. She is screaming, she's acting ugly, and I'm like,
It's a physical, chemical addiction to the dopamine responses that she's getting from it. If the child is in trouble at one house, the child is in trouble at both houses.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's a nightmare and you're raising an evil little monster.
Right.
And it's not good. Here's the general rule about giving your kids a phone. The moment that you're okay with them seeing porn, that's the time to give them a phone. Because they're going to figure it out, and they're going to see it.
If you have a young kid and you give them a phone, you put bark on their phone. You also can limit things on their phone. You should be picking up their phones. You should be looking at their search history. You should be checking every single day what they're doing. There's no privacy. And I'm saying when you pick up their phones, they go take a shower and they leave their phone in their room, go grab it. Don't make it where they know you're doing it. You have to be sneaky, just like they're sneaky.
Parenting 101 by Jennifer Hardy Har Har.
Yep.
Okay, have you heard of Matt Walsh? Do you know who Matt Walsh is?
I've heard of his name, yes.
All right, well, he's giving some relationship and parenting advice.
All right.
So we're going to see what he has to say. Grants advice to his fans. All right.
I want to start with this. This is actually not, this is not an email. This was a comment that somebody left on YouTube on one of the shows this week that I thought was interesting. And it's not looking for advice. It's actually giving advice. I just think it's good. So,
all right. So let's see what we think.
PBD Park Biz says, parenting without screens is easy.
You just have to join in, and most parents won't. I don't think my parenting is better or my child is well behaved, but the screen, they are upset for a minute and forgot for a few. It takes a week to break the habit most kids have. Just take it away and don't give it back. Be strong. Here is the part that's most important. Spend time with them. Let them be in the room while you work. Let them ask 1,450 questions, even if it's annoying. Stop being a child yourself and parent.
Okay, I have some comments on this.
All right, what are your comments?
One comment is, like, I agree. Like, kids don't need to be stuck to a screen. 100% agree with that. But I don't agree with the let them be in the room while you're working and them asking you 1,450 questions, even if it's annoying. Stop being a child yourself and be a parent. Well, okay. As an adult and as a parent, you have to work, correct?
Yes.
You have to provide. You've got to put food on the table. If your child is disrupting you and it's disrupting your work and you lose your job, now you can't provide for your family. So like, I disagree with that. What he needs to say is be a parent, explain to your children, hey, mom, dad has a job. This is why that job is important to our family. You like food, correct? You like toys. No, I talk to my kids like this.
Well, you are a stay-at-home working parent.
Right. Well, me and my husband are. So,
unless you're here doing this.
Exactly. So, it's very important they understand, like, you can't just come walking into the office if I'm on a telephone conference, or I'm talking to a client or whatever. You cannot disrupt that. You have to be quiet. And so that part I don't agree with. Like, if you want to have child parent day at work, that's one thing, where your child goes to work with you and your child experience what work life is about. They have days like that. But children have to understand their place. As a parent, your job is to make sure your kids are entertained. So entertained in the sense where you give them schoolwork, or you give them a book to read, or you tell them to go outside and play, things like that. So there needs to be things in place for your kids.
I think what this is getting at is too many people turn over all of their parenting duties to the screen and are not monitoring the screen.
Right.
And are letting nothing but garbage go into the minds of their kids.
Oh, I agree with
which
that.
is exactly what the CCP, Chinese Communist Party, is doing with TikTok. Because in China, the TikToks they get are all educational, really high value stuff. And here it is the nonsense and brain garbage that is destroying the fabric of America.
Well, I will be honest with you. When my daughter is on her iPad and she's on it for a while, she is a terror when I rip it away from her. She is screaming. She's acting ugly. And I'm like,
'Cause it's a physical, chemical addiction to the dopamine responses that she's getting from it.
Yep. And
It's a problem.
I'm like, no. I mean, I will. One day I told her, I'm like, this will go in the garbage. I really don't care. It's not anything that I enjoy. You enjoy it. So if you want to keep it and you want to be able to utilize it, you have to behave and act correctly. Otherwise, I don't have any attachments to this. So, yeah, I mean, I think.
Well, let's see what Matt has to say.
Yeah.
Stop being a child yourself and parent. I think that's extraordinary advice. It's also very basic and it should be obvious, but the best advice often is, and this is exactly right. The first thing when it comes to modern parenting anyway, this is like one of the number one challenges is the screen. It's the
Absolutely, without a question.
Well, here's another problem. They go to school.
And all the kids have it.
Well,
I can't imagine what a school is like now with everybody having
There's
phones.
no books in school no more.
What?
No. No books, no textbooks.
So they get to carry a phone.
No.
And they don't have to even
They
carry
have
any
to
books
bring
anymore.
a laptop to school.
Okay.
Or an iPad.
Okay.
Or something like that.
So school is
All
now
their
teachers
school-
babysitting them while they're on the computer.
All their schoolwork is done through Google.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. No, school is way different than when we went to school.
No kidding.
So I'll never forget. I asked Zachary, where's your textbooks? What? Like, don't you have textbooks? And he's like, huh? And I'm like, I never see you bring home a book. Mom, it's all on the computer. And it's required. Like, as a parent,
Do they ever use pen and paper for anything? Do they handwrite anything ever?
I mean, in kindergarten, yes.
So they learn how to write in kindergarten and never write again?
And I would say in elementary school, they're using, still pen and paper.
So if something goes down and they can't access their computer, they can't even take notes about something happening.
Right. I mean, they have paper. It's part of their school supplies that they bring paper and notebooks and things like that. Yes, they have that. And they do take notes. And they do things in their little binders. But everything is done through the computer. All the assignments are provided through the computer.
Wow.
So they get these Google assignments.
So their whole school is basically Duolingo all day long.
Yes. So, I mean, Zoe doesn't have that. So our elementary is set up kindergarten.
What grade is she in? Kindergarten?
So kindergarten through second grade. But when they hit third grade, they go to the intermediate school. Well, guess what? When you go to intermediate school, you got to have an iPad or a laptop. And if your parent can't provide it, then the school will issue one to the student.
Wow.
But yeah, it's a requirement. And then everything is through the computer.
How do you know whether the parent can provide it? Why wouldn't the parent just say, I'm not providing that?
Well, I mean, that's basically what they do. They say, we can't financially afford it or whatever.
Are you a second-class student if you don't have the good modern iPad? Is that how they...
Probably in our school district. That was some
It's raining here.
Probably in our school district, yeah. I mean, because it's a higher-end school district, so
now it's not the new pair of Reebok and Nikes. Or whatever fashion stuff. Do you have the latest device? Is that a thing?
Oh, probably.
You're an iPhone and I'm an Android people.
I don't know. Like in middle
that?
school, the tennis shoes are still super popular. I mean, the Air Jordans and stuff. I mean, that's all Jackson is about. But yes, he's really into technology as well. So,
wow.
Yeah, no, it's a whole different ball game.
Okay.
Siren song of all these screens that are constantly beckoning to your children and to us and threatening to
yeah, it's a problem for every human being, really.
Yes.
And at least in this country.
totally take over and absorb every minute of our lives. And so you've got it. Like, if you want to have a happy and fulfilled family and marriage, and you want happy, fulfilled children, and you want to have some chance also of actually raising.
What was that picture of Joe Biden flashed up there real quick? What was that?
I was wondering that. Not me being goofy.
Did he really do that, or is that Photoshop or something?
It looks Photoshopped, but I don't know.
I don't know. Okay.
And you want to have some chance also of actually raising your own children, of you being the one who raises them, and that their moral formation and their spiritual formation and all of that.
Yes.
I mean, what is that? That's the show?
That's what that strawberries and all those were floating around.
Yeah.
Babies are addicted to cocoa melon.
What?
It's a like they.
So we're getting them addicted as babies.
It's educational. Like they
is?
sing ABCs and like that's how Zoe learned her ABCs.
So
watching Cocoa Melon.
It's not Sesame Street. It's
Cocoa Melon.
Cocoa Melon.
And now you go to like the store, like Target or Walmart, and you go by the toy aisle, and they have all the Cocoa Melon toys, and you will hear like 1-year-olds and 2-year-olds, Cocoa Melon, and like freaking out over it. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Education is largely up to you. If you want some hope of that, then you've got to be able to sever their ties and their dependency on the screen.
I agree with that. How do you do it? You just take it away? I mean,
I think you have to limit. So I have friends like they only allow their kids during the school week maybe 30 minutes of screen time. And then on the weekend, they give them a little bit longer, you know. So I think you limit things.
I've spent days.
I'm fortunate with.
Go ahead.
Zachary never really had a screen problem issue. I mean, he was an outdoor kid. He loved riding his bike. He loved going through the neighborhood. He would go fishing with his friends. Like he was very outdoorsy. Jackson was a very big electronic screen kid, but he's now got this passion for basketball. So he goes out every day and plays 2 hours in the back with basketball. So I don't like have to worry about it. Zoe is now my problem. Zoe wants to get on the iPad. She gets addicted to it.
Yep.
So now it's like, that's why I have her in soccer and tumbling and, you know, I have her in activities to get her away from it.
Yep.
And to get her more active. But yeah, it's a problem. I mean,
Summer and I have even had to get away from those things. Because I've had days where I will sit and do Duolingo for hours.
Right.
And I like doing it because I'm learning on it.
Right.
And I like games that learn, but I can only imagine. Thank God I'm not addicted to something wasteful like.
Well, the precious iPhone, when it came about, that's when all the problems became because it's in our hand. I mean, this is a miniature computer, you know, and the one thing I hate is like going to dinner and every family member is
not on the table.
I set mine to the side and I sit there. And I've made comments. Wow. And Zoe's not on one because she doesn't have a phone. But like if Jackson, I make Jackson put his up. And like when we go to church, Jackson's not allowed to take his phone to church because it's a distraction.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, keep it at home.
I think you have to intentionally limit it at
yes.
times.
Yes. So with my kids, and that's the problem. Jackson, if he gets on his phone, he's off in La La Land. You could be telling him things to do and he's not even picking it up. You know, when he's on that drives me. I will like lose it. Like, put that phone up. Like,
I think
give it to me. I can't handle it. I need you paying attention.
I think one of the best suggestions that I've seen is that when you are with someone, if you're at dinner, the phone goes not on the table. Because what that's saying is, I'm with you here until, you know, something here on my phone is more important. It's a bad message to send.
Right.
So the ideal thing is in the pocket, in the purse, not there at dinner time. Dinner time, you actually interact with human beings.
Right.
And Summer and I have started trying to do things like going on walks, exercising together, just spending time doing different things and intentionally getting away from being on the phone.
Right.
Intentionally. It takes intention.
Well, your brain needs it. Otherwise, you're just going to create mush in your brain. It needs a break. Electronics, your eyes need a break. You know?
Oh, absolutely.
It's too much. I think a big issue with our world is things just process so fast. And, you know, it's weird to watch kids be born and immediately pick up electronics like that. I mean, I'm talking little babies that haven't even hit 1. and they can pick up a phone and they can swipe, they can start hitting stuff and doing things, and you're like, holy crud. And it's like, it's just natural.
Yeah.
And it's kind of creepy to think how fast these kids get addicted to it. And then to think as an adult, you know, we're just processing it and trying to learn it as
We're
fast
the
as
first
we
generation
can.
ever that this has happened.
Yeah.
Well, at least that we know, because maybe the Matrix is right. That we're just going to repeat this, and we've done all of this before in past centuries, and then nuclear war then destroys us all, or the AI takes us out.
I don't like AI.
Benefits, but a lot of dangers in it.
Yeah, I see benefits, but I also it kind of freaks me out just a tad bit, because like I don't want to see human population not be able to do things too.
Well, Elon Musk had a good idea of that. As part of the regulations, we need to be able to entirely cut the power to the data centers.
Yeah.
To it.
You know, it's like this. What happens when everything just like freezes and you have to go back to, it's kind of like, let's think about the restaurant industry. This is the best example I can give. You know, before computers and before you were putting in your orders, they hand wrote everything. They went to the kitchen, they dinged it in, and, you know, the cook pulls it and puts it in. Well, then we went to computers, and then we got used to that, right? And then what happens when the computers crash? It's like the worst nightmare in a restaurant.
Yeah.
You know, because then you have to try to go back to old school.
Yeah. You handwrite everything, and a lot of people have never dealt with that and don't know how to roll
process a credit card the old way.
Oh, yeah.
You know? I mean, I've had to deal with that multiple times in my career. And I think back to like, now I look at like how our world is becoming, and I'm like, what happens when everything crashes? If the human population is not connected to some degree, how are we going to be able to work or be able to
The
do
vast
things?
majority of all of our money is electronic now.
Yeah.
And what happens if the banking industry and computers aren't able to? How do I prove how much money I have in XYZ bank?
Right. It's a little scary.
It's very scary. And on that note, let's see what Matt has to say.
You just got to be able to do it. Do it! And in some ways, I don't have a lot of sympathy for parents that like don't know how to do this, or they don't want to, or they feel bad about it.
You should not feel bad about being a parent to your kids. That's a problem we see all the time. As a divorce lawyer, I see people that have to get a divorce because they're afraid to discipline and teach their kids.
Right.
They need you to teach them stuff. They need you to discipline. Discipline means to correct, to train them, to make them work when they don't want to give them tools and techniques and skills.
And kids want it. Whether you think they do or don't, they want it. They need it.
In retrospect, I wish my parents had done more of that for me. And I'm pretty decent, but there's a lot of times where I wish I had more discipline. And then to do that for myself, it's a lot easier when you have somebody else doing it. It's a lot easier to live. And the younger that you put that on somebody, the more difficult it is. The better structured and more motivating that you can be as a coach, as a leader, as a motivator to them, as a teacher, and as someone who has to be a disciplinarian, meaning sometimes it's punishment, other times it's just correcting the behavior in a variety of different ways. Hopefully a lot of it is healthy. But sometimes it has to be done in a unpleasant way.
Right.
But you can't fail to do it.
No.
You have to do it.
No, you have to.
No, yeah. If you take the screen away from your kid, maybe you've already given them a phone, big mistake. Take it away. Say,
yeah. Here's the general rule about giving your kids a phone. The moment that you're okay with them seeing porn, that's the time to give them a phone, because they're going to figure it out and they're going to see it.
There are things you can put on kids' phones. So there's a program called Bark, and it will notify you of everything your kid's doing. So I highly recommend, if you have a young kid and you give them a phone, you put Bark on their phone. You also can limit things on their phone. I mean, Jackson can't just add any contact to his phone. It has to be approved through us.
Interesting.
We
Good.
have password protection stuff on there that he can't do things without us approving it. So, just be knowledgeable, look it up, find things. But Bark, I would highly recommend. I think it's $100 for the whole year.
You know how many kids have multiple cell phones that other people give them?
Oh, yeah. No.
All the time.
No. I've experienced.
Yeah, you have.
Not a cell phone. But
really?
my kid bought another device. It wasn't like not an iPad, but a tablet. So yeah,
Yeah.
no.
Never mind. You
But
can't
yeah,
have this
you
phone.
have to.
It's okay to admit when you made a mistake as a parent. You could say, we made a mistake.
And your kids have no privacy.
They shouldn't.
No. You should be picking up their phones.
Mm-hmm.
You should be looking at their search history. You should be checking every single day what they're doing. There's no privacy. And I'm saying when you pick up their phones, they go take a shower and they leave their phone in their room. Go grab it. Don't make it where they know you're doing it. You have to be sneaky, just like they're sneaky.
Parenting 101 by Jennifer Hardy Har.
Yep.
You should not have this. We're going to take it away. You take away that, you severely cut down on TV time, on time with video games. If you do that,
I do like watching some of those. You see the one where that one kid's freaking out and his dad runs over all his video games with a lawnmower because he's like 23 years old and doesn't go get a job. And
Oh gosh, I could not deal with that. I would kick my kid out.
Don't be a loser.
Yeah.
the kid's going to be upset. They'll be in a huff, whatever. Who cares? You cannot allow yourself to be emotionally manipulated by your children. You just can't.
Yes, you cannot allow yourself to be
No.
emotionally manipulated by your children.
No.
That's a huge point. And we see that in divorces all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because when parents can't cooperate with each other, then the child knows how to do one parent, how to manipulate them against the other parent.
Oh yeah.
It's just how it is. And what happens when the parents can't coordinate,
Mm-hmm.
then the child has the power. Because the child says something and feeds into this foolish parent who then
Mm-hmm.
just says this parent's awful. And then the child goes and says something to this parent who feeds into this parent and then thinks that this parent is awful.
Don't be fooled. Kids do that with two parents who are married and love each other
Yeah.
and are loving. My kids do it all the time. I catch them in the act. They'll come to me, I tell them no, and next thing I know, I hear them in there with their daddy.
Regardless of-
and I'm like, what?
Regardless of how much disagreement you may have with the other parent, if the child is in trouble at one house, the child is in trouble at both houses.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's a nightmare and you're raising an evil little monster.
Right.
And it's not good.
Well, yeah, and just think, if you discipline your child and then they go to the other parent's house and they get away with murder, but then they get in trouble at your house and then they go back to the other parent's house and the other parent isn't supporting you either, then now that kid is just playing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not good.
And if you're in that situation and the other parent is not cooperative and the other parent is actually encouraging the bad behavior, hold your ground on how and what you do.
Right.
And there's a book called Parenting with Love and Logic, which is an excellent book. We'll put the link in the description below. That book is phenomenal. I think it's one of the best parenting books there. And you have to be firm and be a good parent. You'll have to give them the discipline. And they may or may not like you when they're a kid and they're going through it, but they'll appreciate it later in life. I know because I've talked to enough parents and children and people who have been through this to know that that is the better way to do things.
And I will say, I have a 19-year-old and he's thanked us a lot for things that we've done. That he's recognized, like, yeah, I'm glad you did that. I'm glad. But at that time,
He hated it.
He didn't see it that way.
Yep.
No, we were the enemy.
Yep.
So, and I think we can even attest to our own selves when we were teenagers,
Yep.
things our parents did. And then looking back going, oh, wow. Yeah, I'm glad.
I wish I would have had a little bit more structure. I mean, I think my parents did a pretty good job.
Mm-hmm.
But I even wish that I would have had a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
At the time, I certainly didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to go through what I did. But maybe I wouldn't have gone through the kind of who knows what where I was in my 20s and just kind of being lost and not having a lot of direction with things.
Right.
I'm not blaming them at all for that. They did a great
Right.
job. But I even wish, because I thought I had a decent amount of discipline, and I probably did. I mean, I was probably a really great kid, and I don't know how they would know some of the things that I was going through or difficulties. And
Some parents trust their kids and they don't really dig in, and they, on the outside looking in, they think their kid's okay. They don't really dig into it. Or it could be a parent like me who is constantly digging. So I don't just trust the outer layer.
for me, I think my problem was girls. I just really wanted to be married, have a wife, and do that. And it just took me a while to figure that out, and also to figure out what I wanted to do with my life and my career, and feeling successful in certain things, but then not having good avenues to be creative and good and successful at the level that I saw myself, which I am now.
Right.
But I mean, I had some loneliness, and it was depressing at the time, and I don't know, it's tough.
Yeah. No, it's tough being a teenager.
But I'm sure glad that when I went through all that crap, that there wasn't cell phones recording everything that I ever did.
Oh, I know.
At every different moment. How do you deal with that?
It is all about educating your kids. Now, the school does it too. They'll tell them like, hey, you know, anything you do will follow you for the rest of your life. But as a parent, it's also educating your kids. And also, I'm a married attorney, so I have my husband like putting down the law, like, here, this is what will happen to you kind of stuff. But, you know, and I will tell you, we did that and it still didn't make a difference. I mean, Zachary, we did a few things that I was just like,
kids are going to go through and they're going to test those limits. And if you don't experience a lot of that stuff on your own, you have no idea.
Exactly.
And that's what part of what life is about.
Yeah.
But to memorialize that in eternity and forever, the things that you're ashamed of and always being there, I don't know. It's got.
And what you should know as a parent is that there are basically like two kinds of hurt that your child might experience. There's the discomfort that he might feel because he's not getting something that he wants.
Yep. Okay. Happens. So what?
Yeah.
You better be able to get through that.
Yep.
And yet shouldn't have. And you're taking that thing away, or you're limiting his time with that thing.
What you need to do.
And that makes him uncomfortable. That makes him bored. And he's upset about that. There's like that kind of hurt. Okay.
Which is not real hurt. And that's something that they need to learn through.
Right.
Okay. And then there's the real hurt. There's either emotional or physical, where there's something deeper going on.
Oh
The first kind of hurt
my God.
Why would the kid have
Oh my God.
really shouldn't bother
Is
you.
that a toy gun?
that had to be a setup photo or some whatever.
I hope so.
I can say for me as a parent, it just doesn't. If my kids are whining because they want something and I don't give it to them, they want it. They want to watch TV and they can't. They want a, junk food snack.
That would be an instance where the child would be punished.
And I say, no, you can't have that.
Would be
They want some
spanked.
soda, and I say, I'm not going to give you soda. And they get in a snit about it. That has no impact on me at all.
Exactly.
Right.
It should have no impact on you at all because you're an adult.
I will tell you, like something our pastor told us when it comes to a kid and their privacy, and they don't have any. He was like, when a kid is acting out, you take their door off the hinges and take their door off. And if they continue, you eventually take the bed out of the room and leave the mattress on the floor. It was like you take away privileges, like everything that a child has, you bought, right? As a parent, you purchased that, you own that. So with teenagers, I mean, they were just like, the kids have to understand, like, this is your house. This is your stuff. This is, it's not theirs. And they have to understand, like, you do not disobey your parents.
Yep.
And, no, it was like, I was like, whoa, okay. I mean, we never did that. I mean, we made Zachary leave his door open, but we've never like took the door off the hinges. But yeah, no.
Like those kinds of emotions from my kid, that's like, you got to get over that. That's just, I'm Teflon with that. That bounces right off me. I don't care. Now, again, there's the deeper kind of emotional hurt that your child might feel, and that you should take seriously.
Yep.
I mean, there are many examples of that. Just a recent example for me, I was, when I was most recently going on a trip to speak at another college.
Whoever is doing his Photoshops is great.
And my son was like very upset that I was leaving again because I've been traveling a lot. And he was really upset about it. And he was
Well, that kind of sucks.
in tears. And he was, now, of course, that's something deeper. That's like, I want to spend time with Dad. You're not here.
I would take some time and spend time with them. And
Yeah.
I would go out of my way to work with that.
Or you have little kids that play you too. Zoe does this.
I know
It's
she
like
does.
she'll like do this
With
whole
Daniel especially.
Oh yeah, she'll do this whole thing where it's time for bed. Put up your iPad. It's time to go to bed.
So
Not
now
at bedtime.
And then
Bedtime
she-
doesn't count. If I'm going out of town for 4 days,
Right.
that's one thing.
She goes, but I didn't get to spend much time with you. That's not our fault. You haven't been wanting to interact with us. Like, bed.
Okay, then we won't have any iPad time tomorrow, and we will spend time together. That'll be great.
Oh, yeah.
And then watch the look on her face. See what she says.
I'm going to
Film that one for the podcast, please.
sit down and we're going to have a real conversation about that. Okay, and that does, that's the kind of thing that's a gut punch that you actually feel as a parent. But there's other stuff where they're just whining because they want something. You got to be able to, be unfazed by that entirely.
I completely agree.
Oh, yeah.
And then, yes, as the comment points out, you take the screens away, you take these things away, and
Wow.
I told you.
Wow.
especially when the children are younger, you can quite easily replace that in a way that they will find more than satisfying and sufficient if you spend time with them yourself.
Yes. Spend time with them yourself is excellent.
But the dirty little secret, which is not much of a secret, is that most parents, this is exactly why they put their kids in front of the screens, because they don't want to spend time with their kids.
That is exactly
Yeah,
true.
that is true.
Because they consider it taxing or annoying, or kid asks so many questions or whatever. But you're a parent, and this is what your child wants. It wants to be around you. It wants to spend time with you,
Hopefully.
especially for younger kids.
Well,
Yeah, they do.
Younger kids, yes. Teenagers,
And you
no.
should not give them that phone for that.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the biggest mistakes that we make as parents of younger kids is that we don't give children that time that they need and that attention that they need. You can't give them attention all the time, right? Where they think the world revolves around them. They do want your attention. They do just want to, they want to just be around you. And they want to do the things that you're doing. You don't always have to do childlike things. You can incorporate them
Yeah. That's a great suggestion.
into the things that you're doing. They really like that. They want to do that. But you have a lot of parents where they're annoyed by it. They don't want to deal with it. And so they push the kids away. They say, just go watch.
In Duolingo, there's one of the stories that you can listen to. And in one of the stories, the kid's name is Junior, and his dad is watching a football game. And Junior's talking to him and says, Can I have $50? And the dad's going, yes, 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 to this football screen. And he goes, oh, really? That was easy, and then he says, I'm not going to go to school on Monday either. Is that okay? Yeah, it's, and it comes up in German all the time. This story, will repeat. I've probably done it a dozen times. And it's it's exactly this, is someone is not paying attention to their kid. And finally he goes, sorry, Junior, what was it that you wanted to talk about? Junior? And the kid has gone with $50 to buy a pizza and get a new video game from the store and left without him. That's the story in Duolingo.
Yeah.
Watch TV.
Not now, son.
And then the time inevitably comes when they become teenagers, or maybe even before that, where suddenly it's like a switch is flipped. And now they don't even want to be around you anymore. They don't want your attention anymore.
Interesting. We also see a lot of bad stuff when a parent who is going through a divorce is saying a bunch of negative things about the other parent, and it only comes back and reflects upon you. They're not going to judge the other parent based on what you say. They're going to judge you based on what you did and what you said.
Right. It might work for a bit, but in the long run,
yeah.
it's not going to be good.
In the long run, they're going to be really upset with you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work.
Right.
One way or the other. It just doesn't work out. It's a bad thing to do.
And when that happens, we hear the story a million times from parents. That's when they look back and they think of all those times when the kids were younger and begging for their attention, and that's all they want. Like when you're a parent of a young child, this is your biggest problem. It's just that your kids like you too much and they want to be around you too much. It's like one of the biggest issues.
I don't know that that's a problem, but
Right.
that's a good part about it. But you should take advantage of that is the point.
That parents complain about is when they have young kids, which is not really a problem at all. And once the kid gets older, doesn't want to be around you anymore because they're going through their teenage phase, you look back on it and realize, oh, that was never a problem. That was a beautiful thing. I wish I'd spent time with them when they wanted it. Maybe they would still want my attention now if I had given it to them back then.
So this is the Lawyer Dana Show.